Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, whether you're waking up fresh or stretching and yawning. Here we are with a show full of excitement, some news, perspective and information. I am Muzammil Khan, joining me in the studios, Eesha, Rehan, and this is World This Morning. Assalamu alaikum, Eesha, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, Muzammil. Thank you for the very charismatic introduction. And you know, I think I feel awfully, very pleasant today, right? Because we woke up in a very beautiful and scenic Islamabad. The rain was pouring down heavily throughout the night. However, a lot of parts of Pakistan have been impacted by the devastating rainfall, which is why we have some very important news for you to share. Firstly, the Meteorological Department has forecasted heavy rainfall in the Pothohar region, prompting emergency preparedness measures across Rawalpindi and surrounding areas. The Director General of the Punjab Provincial Disaster Management Authority, Irfan Ali, has visited the Nala Lai and inspected ongoing cleaning operations and assesses the flood prevention arrangements. He was accompanied by Deputy Commissioner Rawalpindi Hassan Wakar Chima and the Managing Director WASAY. During the visit, the Deputy Commissioner briefed the DGPDMA on cleaning the Nala Lai in passes and the mountaineering as the adjacent tributes.
Well, now with this, climate change is impacting Pakistan and climate, it's all over the world, because we are going through this phase of transition where greenhouse gases, industrialization and a lot of other things have impacted our planet. Sadly, we haven't been taking care of it like we're supposed to, but now is the time, because if we don't now, I think future generations and we in our lifetimes might see things that we would not want to see or come across. Now, talking about climate change, Chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority has said that Pakistan is experiencing its 7th spell of monsoon rains. Quite unnatural and something that we should have tried our best to avoid. But we'll come to that later, which have so far claimed around 670 lives. Briefing the media in Islamabad, he warned that 2 more monsoon spells are expected in the coming days. Now, this will bring the total up to 9. He added that NDMA is coordinating with provincial authorities to provide relief and ensure preparedness against further damage. This is about the climate change and its impacts. Now, talking about monsoon and travel warnings, NDMA has also mentioned that we should take good care of ourselves and our families and our friends. And if one of your friends, there's always that one person around who just doesn't keep up with the news. And if they're deciding to go up north or travel down south, make sure that they check before leaving. They should check for the weather updates. They should check on the NDMA website, because once you get caught in a flash flood, God forbid, landslide, rockfall, anything of that sort, survival becomes absolutely difficult.
Exactly. You know, thank you so much for highlighting that, Muzammil. I feel like people need to be very cautious about traveling these days, and people who are living near such impactful areas, high impact areas, they should carry ropes with them and safety tubes and life jackets with them, because these are not the times to try and test out new things. It's the time to evacuate and go to safety zones. And speaking of safety, our Pakistan Army has been at the forefront of such efforts. The Pakistan Army's Corps of Engineers and search rescue teams are continuing recovery efforts for injured and deceased individuals in the Bunir, Shingala and Sawat areas. Army personnel are also engaged in clearing damaged bridges and obstructed roads despite the adverse weather. Helicopter rescue and missions remain underway. The medical camps have been also established by Army doctors to provide free medicines, and ration supplies are being distributed to those in need.
Well, talking about the restoration and talking about landslides and floods, northern areas have been the worst affected. Now, as the water travels down south towards Karachi and other regions, we are going to see another spell of problems, waterborne diseases. It's going to be something. Be prepared and keep your supplies ready to help your brethren that would be in difficult times. And also call up people, ask them how they are, ask them if they need help, and keep in touch, because right now our help to each other is what matters the most. And due to recent floods, the main roads connecting Skardu up north and other parts of the country were washed away in the Astak location. And because of this, road rehabilitation strategy was needed, which was successfully implemented, and following special instructions from the Army Chief, Pakistan Army immediately began repair work on the road. Under the supervision of the senior officers, restoration work is ongoing day and night, with modern machinery also deployed on site. Now, adverse weather conditions and strong water currents are causing significant challenges to the relief and restoration efforts. Road repairs are expected to be completed soon in Skardu.
All right, and you know, since we are talking about the devastating impact of these monsoon rains on people's lives, what comes into mind is how humanity needs to come together and help each other, right? Because saving lives is another act of kindness. It is actually saving one's humanity, which is why we are celebrating World Humanitarian Day. The World Humanitarian Day is being observed globally to pay tribute and homage to the brave hearts who leave their no stone unturned to come forward and work towards a humanitarian cause. The day marks the sacrifice of humanitarian workers who lost their precious lives working for humanitarian needs and causes all across the globe. And what we really need to talk about is that we need to remember everyone with gratitude, action, and honor. You know, humanitarian aid workers are there at the first time when disaster strikes, when there is no place to go and where all hope feels lost. And what better way to discuss this than the man at the forefront of this mission. Here in Pakistan, we are deeply honored to join someone who is at the heart of this mission. He happens to be Mr. Mohammed YAHYA, the United Nations Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator in Pakistan. He is the UN's top representative in Pakistan, and he brings with him a decade of expertise across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. YAHYA. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much for having me. Really good to be here.
It's great to have you here, and it's a pleasure having you here. Now, a little insight that we would start with regarding the spirit of humanitarianism. What does this mean to Mohammed YAHYA?
Well, humanitarianism is essentially saying that you're not alone, especially for communities that have been impacted by disasters. You've just, I think, talked about those impacted in northern part of Pakistan. So it's really saying that we share one planet, and when we're in need, we will be there to help each other. And I think that is what the core essence of humanitarianism is about.
Right. And when we take global perspective, where do you see that right now our civilization, as a global civilization, humans are lacking? That one point that you see is the pain point.
So currently, globally, there are about 300 million people in need of humanitarian aid. So we're going through unprecedented times in terms of needs. It's a combination of conflicts such as in Gaza, Sudan, climate impacted communities such as you've just mentioned here in Pakistan. So the need could not be much higher globally. But unfortunately, also, we've never seen this level of essentially financing for humanitarianism has gone to the lowest it has been for many, many decades. For example, the global ask for humanitarian response by the NGOs and the UN is only funded by 18%, while the needs are higher than it's ever been. So there's a huge gap, and I think today that the World Humanitarian Day is a reminder for all of us to do more in helping each other, working with our local communities, supporting local NGOs, and I think this is a reminder for us globally on what needs to be done.
You know, thank you so much for highlighting that, you know, because as you mentioned, around 305 people across 72 countries need assistance this year, and around 4 million children live in conflict zones or are fleeing from conflict zones. So what actually gives you the hope that even though there is lack of funding, maybe lack of resources, what gives you the hope that the humanity can come together and serve the right purpose to aid people in need?
I think what gives me hope is the people at the forefront, and I think you mentioned the aid workers. People who risk their lives, who go every day, who work with communities, who help each other, who provide life-saving tools to communities that are impacted. I think they give us hope. But also you mentioned we've gone through, 2024 has been the most catastrophic year for aid workers. We've lost more than 300 of them, mainly in Gaza and other places. But constantly you see people signing up. Constantly people are coming up front and saying that I would be a brother or a sister to a person who is in need. And I think that gives us a hope. And for us in the UN, obviously we are created with the idea of helping each other and reminding humanity of our collective responsibility. So we are also there. My colleagues in Pakistan are working with the NDMA, especially, and PDMA, especially in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and other parts. So we are there, and I think humanity always corrects itself, and we hope the current global disasters and the needs that are there, hopefully will find the solidarity that it needs.
In your view, what are the biggest challenges humanity is facing currently?
Well, from the humanitarian side is the needs. So you've seen the amount of children we've lost in many of the conflicts. You've seen the climate disasters. And I think the biggest challenge is not losing hope and not giving up and not feeling disempowered that you can't do something. And I think it's not only a responsibility of governments globally, but it's a responsibility of the people.
Right.
And I think Pakistani people have been very generous globally. I know the amount of support you have sent globally to support people in need. But I think the people give me hope. Humanity gives me hope. We're in a very precarious situation now globally, and I think you've pointed that out. But I think a day like this, I think, is to remind ourselves we can do more, and we are more powerful than we think we are.
Definitely.
Now, so you talked about being short on funds and funders not coming up and helping.
Yeah.
We are in a bad situation right now, talking globally about the humanitarian scene. What are the major disruptions that you see other than funding? Is it the lack of will? Is it, what do you see? Well,
I think we're going through a period where the international norms are being tested and stretched. International humanitarian law, which is meant to protect people, civilians. We are seeing that the norms that has governed international system has been really tested. But I'm confident we'll come out of this stronger.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And I think, as I said, the countries like Pakistan have been at the forefront in supporting communities impacted by conflict. You send peacekeepers across the world in bringing about peace and managing helping manage international norms. But I think we're here talking to Pakistani viewers. I just want to tell them that they've played a good, important role globally, and their enthusiasm, and if they don't give up, I think the international community collectively will also not give up. And I think this.
Well, the major part is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala tells us to help each other out in times of need. Absolutely. It's not about who is in front of us, it's about how difficult of a position that they're in and if we're able to help them or not. Now this brings me to my next question, and that is, 10 years you've served, and in these 10 years you haven't slowed down. What drives you?
Well, I suppose the main thing that drives me and what made me join in the UN in the first place is wanting to contribute. And we, at least in the United Nations, our DNA is hope, and I think sometimes
that's deep.
The idea that tomorrow will be better than today.
Inshallah.
The idea that the humans collectively we can do better than we're doing, and that we have a shared responsibility. And I think those are the things that drive us. And as I said, I'm very hopeful.
Right.
Even when things don't look as bright as they should, I think it's constantly working and every day knowing that tomorrow will be a better day, and that's what drives us.
You know, and thank you so much for highlighting how Pakistanis have played an integral role in humanitarian efforts. And just to collectively touch on this, I want to talk about how it's very heartbreaking. As you mentioned, more than 360 humanitarian aid workers have lost their lives over last year. So what do you think we as local people can do, and what can governments all across the globe do to actually help and aid humanitarian workers in their respective countries?
People can do a lot. First, if you look at the disasters that are happening today, climate-induced disasters in Pakistan, there's so many unknown heroes. The neighbors helping neighbors, the person who's providing shelter to somebody who has lost a house, the people who are volunteering to work with local rescue helpers. All those people are playing their part. They may not be on television, they may not be seen. That, I think, gives us hope that our deep sense of responsibility to each other matters.
Right.
And globally it's the same everywhere we go.
Definitely. I think that was highlighted in such a wonderful way, really igniting the passion of what humanity stands for, and it is the day to recognize it.
Talking about humanity and humanitarian spirit and the missions that are going on around the world, name a philanthropist that inspires you and who you look up to, someone who's helped humanity like no one else.
Well, there's so many,
would it be injustice to name just one?
yes, I may get into trouble if I choose only one person. But I want to highlight few things. I served in conflict countries, and in Liberia was my first country that I was deployed. And I always tell the story because I used to live inside a Pakistani army barracks that was at the forefront of the dividing communities that were at conflict. So there's so many people who I meet here who have served peacekeeping globally in Pakistan, who now have retired. They also have contributed to peace across the world.
Now those unsung heroes are the real ones. Those unsung heroes are the people who did not work for the name, for the fame.
Absolutely.
They did it for the spirit of it.
Yes.
So one of these experiences, could you please narrate? Something that you still remember.
So as I said, I worked in northern area in northern Liberia, and I've seen firsthand the role peacekeepers have played and the role Pakistani peacekeepers have played. But there's so many other incredible stories across the world. There are people who volunteer, there are people who advocate. It's not only about going to the front and helping save lives, but also people send small amount of resources to NGOs that help communities. There are a lot of people on television. I think you highlighting, using your platforms to highlight this important topic and to encourage people to do more. I think everybody is playing an incredible
Definitely.
My childhood karate instructor used to be in the police, and he was traveling down Sindh, and they stopped his car, the robbers stopped his car, and they pulled everybody out. And turns out the guy robbing the car was the childhood class fellow of my teacher, and they both like, that was the... So have you ever come across such a situation in your...
No, thank God, no. I actually drove to Sindh and it was perfectly fine. I was very lucky.
Yeah.
I actually have driven actually from Sindh up to Islamabad. Luckily, maybe I should not be traveling with any person you know.
and coming back to what you said before, you talked about how everyone is doing their role, right? Maybe we're sitting on TV and we're talking about it, but I think it's the most easiest thing to do. But people like you are at the forefront of this and actually impacting and changing people's lives for the betterment. So this year's theme for World Humanitarian Day is #ActForHumanity. So in light of this theme, is there anything you would like to speak to our viewers about and encourage them to take steps towards?
Well, the one thing I want to tell the viewers is that don't feel powerless. Sometimes you may feel powerless when you look at your television, you see communities impacted by floods in Pakistan, communities impacted by conflict in Gaza, in Sudan, in many parts of the world. I think you're very powerful, and the World Humanitarian Day is a reminder that you can do something, you can speak out, you can help, you can volunteer, specifically within the context of Pakistan. So it's a reminder there are many heroes, and you are part of that story of humanity, that we all share this world, and I think you beautifully mentioned how we have been polluting it for a very long time. We haven't been taking care of it. Planting a tree, making sure that the environment is clean, making sure that you don't build houses next to rivers. So many things we can do as a community to protect the climate, but also then to protect ourselves. So please join. Act for Humanity is the hashtag for today, and do your part in making the world a better place, in making your neighborhoods a better place. That would be my
I
message.
work with the youth here in Pakistan, and especially with the troubled ones, people who are suffering from substance abuse and all sorts of things. So most of them, when they are recovering, what they find power in, coming out of their dark days in life, is helping others. Helping others gives them light. It helps them reignite that fire inside of becoming better. So how can they become a part of UN missions that help people around the world?
So there is a process so the UN has many ways of working, but I can tell you the number one, those on the forefront whenever there's a crisis are local NGOs.
Local NGOs, right.
They are the most, you don't hear a lot about them, but in Pakistan I've seen the incredible work of local NGOs, Pakistani-led local NGOs are doing. So volunteer. There are many ways you can volunteer to support the work of humanitarians across the world. In the UN also we have a voluntary UNVs who are deployed across the world, and I can tell you I've run into many Pakistani UN volunteers across the world doing incredible work, helping communities. But you don't have to go outside also. There's so many things you can do within Pakistan. And it's also ongoing. So we're happy to share information. I don't know how we can do it, but we'll find a way to share the information where people can go, what NGOs are available to volunteer. But many are doing it.
Thank you so much for being here and talking about such impactful things on this integral day. And you know what I really loved was that how we touched the true essence of this day. So you don't need to be an official member of the United Nations committees, right? You just need to be human to serve humanity and to act in humanitarian causes. And I think Mr. Yahya has definitely highlighted that in such an integral way. Thank you so much for taking our time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for highlighting this issue. Thank you very much.
It's you people who are at the forefront and taking steps to actually make people's lives better. You know?
As Mr. Muhammad Yahya has mentioned, that there are so many ways that you can become a part and help humanity at large, and it starts with your spirit. Get in touch with your local NGOs, and whenever there's a catastrophe around, make sure that you're up and about and you are putting in some physical effort into helping those in need.
Definitely.
It was great having Sir Yahya over here.
Definitely.
And now moving on to some international
Positive news, I would say.
Right.
Definitely. And yes, definitely. And I think we were talking about, you know, erasing conflicts and self-inflicted harm on oneself, right? So the US President Donald Trump has said that he had a very good meeting with the Ukrainian president and the European leaders in Washington, where they discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, coordination with Europe and the United States. Trump confirmed he later spoke on the phone with the Russian president and began to arrange a meeting between Putin and Zelensky, adding that the summit with the US participation would follow. And the German Chancellor welcomed Trump's remarks, calling the discussion decisive days for Ukraine, and he urged all European countries to join in providing security guarantees and said expectations from the White House talks have been exceeded.
Now also moving on with this, Washington is at the center of news these days. Why? Because firstly, tariffs and the business news and the business world that has been shaken up by Donald Trump and all of his efforts. Controversial, some of them, and the others, you know, we just know what Trump is. China has urged all parties in Washington's Ukraine peace talks to reach an agreement quickly. This is China's push to end the war in Ukraine, because peace should be at the forefront of our thoughts. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning told regular news press briefing that Beijing hopes all parties and stakeholders will participate promptly and work towards a fair and lasting, binding, mutually acceptable peace agreement. Mao said that China supports all efforts that contribute to peaceful settlement of the crisis and welcomed continued contact between Russia and the United States to improve relations and advance a political resolution. Now, when we talk about peace, it is very important to mention Iran and nuclear laws that are under discussion. We need to discuss all of these things, but first, what we are going to do is we are going to let them in on the news. Talking about the non-proliferation agreements, do you know that Iran is right now trying to put everybody on the table?
It definitely is. It definitely is. And I feel like Iran should explore all of its options. Iran will continue talks with the UN nuclear watchdog, and the two sides will probably have another round of negotiations in the coming days. Iranian foreign minister and spokesperson told the state media that he had talks with the AIEA last week, and these talks will continue, and there will be another round of talks between Iran and the agency probably in coming days. So hopefully we will see this regional peace being stabilized, and hopefully the talks will come to a fruitful end and a fruitful result.
Well, a lot about politics, now talk about photography, but before we move on to the topic of photography, are you a selfie person or a please ye meri tasveer le lo sort of?
I'm a please ye meri tasveer le lo. I'm please, if anyone has an iPhone, please take my picture kind of person.
All right, so World Photography Day is being celebrated today to pay tribute to the art of photography and also to encourage those who are passionate about it to come together and share their work. We are talking about the World Photography Day. Now, who does not love a good camera and clicking pictures? It's easier now because we've got the digital technology on the scene, you know. The day also recognizes how the purpose of medium has evolved from documenting historic events to a mode for personal fulfillment and memory creation. Talking about these cameras and these lenses, I recently came across a few funny little things, and one of them was my cousin picked up my camera, started shooting 110,000 pictures, just clicking away at it, and then goes through all of those, picks out something that looks melopoetic, turns it into black white and goes, "Bhai, ye meri photography check kar."
Wow, I think photography is an art, and art needs to be expressed in different ways. So we're not judging, and we're going to welcome every
I judge. I judge.
Okay, if you are a photography enthusiast who's starting on their journey, make sure to stay clear of Muzammil and his judgment, and make sure to pursue your passion. I actually did some photography courses in my university, and I happened to secure really good marks in it. So I think it's not just sticking up with whatever the boundaries.
I need a photo shoot done right after show.
Done. You know, you will see me clicking pictures of Muzammil right after the show. But you know, speaking of pictures, what we really need to talk about is words, and the Cambridge Dictionary released updates adding over 600 new words to the online edition in the past year, with the TikTok and social media slang greatly influencing many editions. Skibbity is a flexible slang term ranging from cool to bad and simply comedic. It features in YouTube series The Skibbity Toilet, which depicts human heads emerging from toilets. You know, the Little Big's 2018 viral hit, the Kim Kardashian shared a Skibbity toilet on social media. The word is popular among Gen Alpha and other new dictionary edition referring to people born in the 2010s. Other than this, a trad wife, an abbreviation from the traditional wife, refers to influencers to reveal their traditional gender roles, as such as being a stay-at-home mother who cooks, cleans, and shares online content. I already thought trad wife was a very accompanied word, right? And to touch into your feminine nature and nurture your family.
I have to say something at this point right now. I mean, Skibbity toilet and trad wife making its way into Cambridge Dictionary.
What world
which direction are we headed into as a society, as a collective? I mean, my grandchildren are going to have to speak in brain rot? Is that?
Yeah, I think they will, because they are the next generation. They are Gen Zs, they are Gen Alpha, and they will be talking in these terms, right? So I think we need to accommodate them and integrate this in our daily language to keep up with them.
All right, so we have somebody to settle this debate right now with us. Joining us on Zoom, Educationist. Now, the topic is encouraging reading habits in children, but we will also indulge into this debate that we were having just right now. We have the wonderful guest ZAINAB WASAY. She's an educationist and has deep insight into the matter. Assalamu alaikum, ZAINAB. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm fine, alhamdulillah, and thank you for inviting me to your show.
Great to have you here. Now, education and words, you know, they go hand in hand, encouraging reading habits in children. But before we get into it, can you share a little bit of your perspective on how TikTok and these social media fast content platforms are transforming children's language?
So I'm also from Gen Z. I honestly don't use TikTok a lot. And about the language, I just feel that there should be, like, people from millennials, they should be connected to the language of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, so that, you know, there's a connection, and we're able to help them when they need help. If they feel that they don't know anything about our culture, about our language, then there's going to be a huge gap, and we won't be able to relate to each other.
You know, thank you, ZAINAB, for highlighting that. That was put together very well. And, you know, speaking of words and dictionaries, the place to go when you need the authentic information and the place to relax and decompress is a library. And, you know, we're actually very glad of the initiative that you have taken. The Inspired Library and Bookshop opened in Karachi. It was an initiative led by you. And I think it's very integral to integrate libraries in Pakistani students' lives and kids' lives. I remember being a kid, exploring libraries. First it was just picture books, and then slowly realizing, oh, there's maybe different authors, maybe different genres that I like. So what inspired you to start this library, ZAINAB?
So I'm also a mother. I also run a publishing house, Safa Publications. And so the thing is, like, a lot of people ask me why, like, you've opened a library, how are you going to bring children towards books, people towards books in today's era? Like, but the thing is, children need physical experiences, and the library is aimed to provide an alternative to the dopamine culture. So children, they cannot just learn from screens. It leads to ADHD and so much more, which we need, which we all know about. They need physical spaces, and Karachi doesn't have a lot of nature. Um, and libraries they're not the type where any child would happily want to go to. So we do have like really good play cafes. We have science museums. They're all really good. But there's no place where children can bond with books, and we need that. Uh, like for example, we're it's recommended to read bedtime stories to children at night. Now the thing is, because there are no libraries from where we can borrow books, and people abroad, they just go to their local libraries, they borrow as books. It's such an easy process over here. We have to save up, we have to buy books, and especially interactive books and sensory books, they're pretty expensive. So it's not even always possible to read new bedtime stories to our children, and basically having no libraries leads to less books, less reading, less growth and critical thinking in our children, and then they get addicted to screens, and that leads to dysregulated children who can't focus. So having a library and a child-friendly library was really, really needed, and alhamdulillah, like whoever comes, they really appreciate the setup because we designed it in a way which is nature-centered. We haven't included any technology at the moment because children are already surrounded with technology. There are lots of creative reading nooks, and yeah, so the response is great. Alhamdulillah, it's for ages up to 15 years, 0 to 15.
All right, Zainab, thank you so much for taking this initiative. And as you mentioned, there's no screens in the library because, our babies already have too many screen times with them, right?
Break from technology.
Exactly, exactly. And I want to highlight how this library actually has a mother and baby room, a snack bar, and an outdoor reading space.
That is so important. Workplaces need to incorporate that too.
We definitely
because
need to
we're severely
that.
short on it.
Definitely. So, Zainab, it's very influencing how you took these steps. So what do you think? How is this library going to set apart from different traditional libraries? Like you said, you're a mother, so you know that maybe mothers and babies need a separate room space, and then there's a snack bar, maybe kids need some water, some drinks, and an outdoor reading space. So what really inspired you to take these initiatives, and how do you think it's going to impact the future generations to come to libraries rather than just scrolling on their phones?
Yes, so when I was planning everything and I was looking for a space for rent, then I got this question a lot that how is it going to run? Traditional libraries, they're just closing down, nobody goes to them. So I told them this is going to be an active library. It's going to be a place where children want to come. And so every day, like for example, we have a material room as well. So Monday is crafts day, Tuesday is read aloud day, on Fridays we have rhyme time, and it's alhamdulillah, children who come, like one child who was addicted to, like, he had a lot of screen time, and then he came and he started spending time in the library. So one day he said to his mother, let's watch a book. So the perspective changed in the child. And we're also, so like I said, it's an active library. We launched our seed library as well, and we're going to launch another program tomorrow, inshallah. It's called 1,000 books before 5. Basically, it's a program, 1,000 books before school. And the countries which have this program, the children usually go to school at 5 years. So we're going to call it 1,000 books before 5. And even if the child is reading the same book again, that also counts as separate reads. So all of these things are to promote literacy, promote a love for books, a love for words, like critical thinking, not just brain dead, watching screens. So inshallah, I'm really hopeful this is going to have a great impact. And basically, there are two ways to avail our services. Either you can take membership; it's a paid service monthly, and you can borrow books and you can come anytime for free. And if you're not a member, you can still come, and you pay hourly charges. Basically, like we've modeled it like play cafes, but we've kept less charges. So for a child, they're hourly charges, and you can browse through the books, you can enjoy the nooks, and that's how it is.
Definitely, if we ever come to Karachi, we're
We
definitely going to
will.
come visit
And
that library.
this brings me to a question. There is always a book that moves a person and stays with them. Now, talking about that book, what book did play that role in your life? What was the book that has stayed with you after you read it?
That's a difficult question. I grew up with a library in our house. My parents, had a separate room for libraries, and I also got a phone when I was 19. So a lot of books have influenced me, and I've kept them in the library as well, and they've impacted me. And I really hope for the same for whoever visits the library.
I think that is very integral, whatever
In,
you talked about, and how, yes, go ahead, Zainab.
in particular, books about like leaders from the past, and especially people who made a huge change in the last century. Uh, I enjoy reading history a lot, and even in our monthly calendar, we have a calendar for every month, and then we have a section called important dates, in which we mention all the important dates, both Hijri and Gregorian, so that people connect with history as well. It's not like we live in a futuristic world, but we need to learn from our past, and there's a lot that the past, valuable lessons that the past has for us. So I enjoy reading history a lot.
Right, Zainab,
Thank you
thank you
so
for your
much.
time and thank you for all this insight that you have provided into education and into reading. Now, screen time is something which in today's day and age is something that is hard to avoid. If you don't give your child the phone, there's always going to be the television. If it's not the television, it's going to be the phone or the iPad. You know, the screens are always around because we are living in a life
21st
right now. Yeah,
century,
because the technology and
Embedded within our
it's
lives,
embedded
right?
within our lives right now. Now, talking about good physical and mental health, sports are at the forefront, and youth in Pakistan is, since the past few years, doing what they do best, and that is come out on top, win those gold medals, and bring them home. We are talking about Ashabir Khan clinching Jones Creek Open Squash title in United States of America. Pakistan's Ashabir Khan has won the Jones Creek Open Squash Tournament, the final of the event held in United States. Ashabir Khan defeated Malaysia's Nathan Koo. Ashabir Khan overcame Nathan by 3-1 in a 40-minute contest. After losing the first game 8-11, Ashab made a strong comeback, winning the next 3 games 11-2, 11-2 and 11-6. I mean, talk about winning those 2 games, 3 games, you know, by that big of a margin. Once you are up against a Pakistani, they're going to be chill when they first start off, much like our cricket team not performing and lazing around, and then the first loss comes up, and after that you see them jump up into action. You know, that's all
Spoken
of
by
us.
as a true sports enthusiast, right? And you know,
Yeah.
speaking of Pakistanis shining their success all across the globe, I think Muzammil is going to be extremely excited for the next news because it is related to Taekwondo and martial arts. The Pakistani pride and shining star, 13-year-old Taekwondo champion Ayan Miraj has returned to Karachi after his remarkable triumph in Malaysia. He received a warm and enthusiastic welcome upon his arrival at Jinnah International Airport. I think it's wonderful how such young people are taking initiatives to rise Pakistan's name all across the globe and make sure that we're striving and we are doing our
Well,
best.
one part of maintaining one's good health is staying away from diseases and infections and making sure that your children are promptly and properly they are treated for protection against diseases, and take them to the doctor. Do not skip out on the injections that are mandatory. And to talk more about infectious diseases, we have our expert on infectious diseases joining us online here, Dr. Rana Jawad Askar Saab. With his insight into the matter, we are today going to explore how we can avoid getting these infections, what we should do, and how we should treat our young children or protect them, and keeping in focus dengue, malaria, all of these things that involve mosquitoes and water right now. So, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Rana Jawad Askar Saab, how are you doing? And insight into dengue, the coming up season is rain and water, and as we know that those mosquitoes do hatch and spread from clean water.
Walaikum salam, and thank you very much for inviting me to your morning transmission. Um, you are correct. Excuse me. The monsoon season is actually alongside rain comes a lot of infectious diseases. So dengue and malaria you have already mentioned, but also alongside we get a lot of gastroenteritis, meaning your stomach upset because you are eating outside, or and mosquitoes as well, and flies are sitting on that food. So these months, monsoon months, are considered or called healthy season for doctors because they see a lot of patients.
Thank you for highlighting that. The monsoon season is the breeding ground for bacteria, and it causes a lot of germs and bacteria to form. However, it also leads to the dengue eggs and the mosquitoes being formed and integrating into our lives. And we see every year.
Spraying, is conducted every year, but still dengue persists.
It is. And we see year after year the dengue wards turn into basically graveyards. So why is Pakistan at such high risk of dengue every year, and what precautions are we taking? Please highlight that.
So unfortunately, this is one reason is due to the climate change or climate crisis which we are experiencing. Dengue was an old disease, but it was confined to some certain areas of the world. But in last 10-15 years, it has spread to nearly most of the world, except some countries. So it is spreading, and so that the disease was very uncommon before 2005 in Pakistan, but now and then we had major outbreaks from 2005 to until like 2010 or 11. We didn't have a major outbreaks, and then we start seeing regular dengue outbreaks. So one is the weather pattern changing, and the mosquitoes and the weather is now much more conducive to the mosquitoes transmission, and they can spread this in a large numbers. So the problem in monsoon is that not only we have dengue, but we also get malaria. And these are two different mosquitoes, two different diseases, but they are mostly gets their peak in this weather. And so let's talk about the dengue first. So dengue mosquitoes loves clean water. So if at your home you have some empty bottle lying outside and it collects some water inside it, which is clear water, that's where the mosquito will lay its eggs and its larva, and the larva will then becomes the new adult mosquitoes. So that's the problem. So any place, even the top of a bottle, which is like very small, can hold dengue larvas and mosquitoes in it. So even that's small. So that's one problem, that all the clean water which is lying, at our roofs, there are many unused stuff lying on our roofs. That's another place of collecting of rainwater, clear rainwater.
Other than
And
the medicines that are, Doctor Saab, other than the medicines that are given to the patients, what are the best foods that we should give to a dengue patient so they recover faster?
Number one, the medicines which we give for the dengue are symptomatic. It means they do not cure the disease, but they manage your fever, they manage your other symptoms, because this is a viral. For the malaria, we have the medicine and we give those medicines which are curative. That means that treat the patient. There are a lot of talk about different food in the dengue. Many people think papaya is good. Many people say papaya leaves are good. But I haven't seen any scientific study conducted on the value of any food for the dengue patient. But remember, dengue is like any other viral disease, so you need nutritional food. It should not be, spicy. So anything healthier, whatever food you are consuming, without lot of frying and lot of spices, will help you. Fruits are good for as a natural source of vitamins, so you should consume whatever the seasonal fruits are in the market, and they will help you recover quickly. Just like any other viral disease, it has nothing to do with dengue or any other specific disease.
All right, thank you so much for highlighting that. We need to stay healthy and we need to boost our immunity. But speaking of being prepared, every year, as we talked about, Pakistan faces this epidemic of dengue fever, right? So hospital wards prepare yearly. They select separate wards to accommodate such patients. So the hospitals are doing their part. What can we as citizens do to prepare ourselves for dengue? Should we embed ourselves with different sprays? Should we wear long sleeve clothes? And what areas to prevent? Please let us know.
Yes. So because dengue disease cannot be controlled just by the government's functions. Government has an important role to control the dengue spread. But as a community, we all need to do our part. So the first thing is we need to ensure that we decrease the source of dengue, which is those water. If you have a water tank upstairs and its cover is missing or it has big holes in it, get a new cover which no holes, so water mosquito don't find any clear water to propagate or give eggs there. So that's one thing, source limitation. Second is you decrease the chances of mosquito bites. As you said, long sleeves, avoid dark colors. Mosquitoes are attractive to the dark colors, and unfortunately today, younger people are wearing very dark clothes in their parties, so that are considered bad, good for the mosquito but bad for on the health purposes. So wear light clothes, long sleeves, and use insecticide repellents. You can buy it at any pharmacy, and just cover your uncovered parts of your body. And the other thing is avoid morning and the dusk and dawn time. These are also considered bad for the that's a good time for mosquito to bite you. Also,
All right, Dr. Saab, thank you for your details and the insight that you've provided. Unfortunately, we're a little short on time, so we have to end our episode for today's show right over here at this point. It was great having you here. Remember to fully clothe yourself. This is not the season for you to wear your tank tops and be out in the open, especially at dusk and dawn times. Those are the times to protect yourself. Make sure you put on your mosquito repellent, stay indoors, and waste away any water that is sitting around idle. There should not be any. And with this, my wonderful co-host Eesha, Rehan, and Muzammil Ali Khan signing off for today's episode. Be sure to check us out on our website world.ptv.com.pk and also our YouTube channel. And for the rest, it's lots of love and Allah Hafiz. Bye.